How does a fashion photographer from Austria end up here in Oklahoma talking to me? This is Max. Max, what's the story?
Yeah, as you said, fashion photographer, been doing fashion weeks in Europe, and I decided to set another direction in photojournalism, and I thought the best way to mix my fashion background with photojournalism is to also go through something that's dear to me, which is American culture, because I lived here when I was younger, back in South Carolina in 1999, and so I thought with Western fashion being trending, there's definitely something there to explore on maybe the philosophy, the lifestyle, the culture that goes around this fashion.
Yeah.
And when doing some research about it, I landed on your page, and I thought to myself, well, this guy's page is exactly on brand with my project, so reached out, and that's how I got here.
Here we are. Okay, from Austria to Oklahoma.
Exactly.
The journey of Max Evangelista. Okay, great. Well, Max, I'm honored to have you here at my place. You've been here a couple days now, taking some photos. Being that you're here now, and what have you learned about the cowboy lifestyle, or maybe Western wear, or the gear that you've been surprised to see?
I mean, one of the first important lessons I learned coming here, in Europe we have cowboy. That's the generic term for everything. So one of the first lessons is what's the difference, between rancher, cattleman, cowboy.
Yeah.
That's been very interesting to hear the difference and to actually understand it, because in Europe, essentially anyone with this hat and boots is a cowboy.
Yeah.
Which isn't the case.
Yeah.
And then when in regards more closer to my project and closer to the fashion, one thing that surprised me is the price. We talked about this already. I've been told how difficult a lifestyle is of a cowboy, and essentially cowboy or rancher, and essentially, rancher being a farmer. And the price of the apparel is a lot more expensive than what people in Europe and people in France would expect a farmer to wear. So that's been very interesting to see, and also to see the importance that Western culture puts into the craftsmanship of the clothes.
Yeah. I think I can help explain some of that.
Yeah.
So first of all, cowboys and farmers, a lot of us would wear budget-friendly clothes, used clothes, second-hand items, inherited clothing, like my great-grandpa's denim jacket, that kind of thing. Where it can get expensive is understanding that for a cowboy, so much of their clothes is the gear for their job. It's not just their clothes. Here's how I was going to paint that picture. You're wearing a camera around your neck that isn't cheap. So that's your gear that you're using for your job. So you wouldn't just go buy the most budget-friendly camera to come tell your story of photojournalism of cowboys and the clothes and they wear here in America, without a appropriate camera for the job.
Yeah.
That's how it is with Western wear, because the cowboy's pride in his work is high, and their gear represents that job, and so now, it doesn't mean that every cowboy has expensive gear by any means at all. For example, these spurs, I can't remember how much I paid for them. I bought them used. It was somewhere like, it was either $50, $60, or $75. I bought them used from a booth at a rodeo of all places, and so not expensive. You can spend $1,000 or $1,500 on a pair of spurs, custom made spurs, and at some point in time, I hope to be able to get a pair of custom spurs. I think that would be really cool. Like your hat, for example, that you're wearing, a 40X black felt from American Hat Company, that's probably around $1,000 hat. Do you have to have $1,000 hat to be a cowboy? Absolutely not. You know, some people watching this, I'm interested to see the comments in this video, where they're going to go, because I know that usually there will be so much controversy to talk about that kind of thing. You know, there will be people that comment on here and say, I'd never spend $1,000 on a cowboy hat. There's other people on here that say, well, I'd never spend $300 on a cowboy hat. I'm just going to have to replace every year, so might as well buy a good one that's going to last. You know, you're going to listen, everybody has their own preferences and opinions, but as far as some of I think that almost any cowboy that's been cowboying for any amount of time, and I'm not a day working like all full-time cowboy, but will either be gifted or save up to purchase some item for them that represents their work and the craftsmanship behind it and the pride behind it that went into building that item, whether it's a custom belt buckle, custom spurs, custom pair of boots, made to measure boots, a custom bit, custom headstall, whatever it might be. Somewhere it's on the goal list for sure, you know. And I think that's where a lot of the expense in cowboy gear or cowboy clothing is not about spending a lot of money. It's more about having great tools available to you to do your job.
Yeah.
And so that's...
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because talking with the different people I've met along the way, because this is halfway through my journey, that's one aspect that comes back a lot is an heirloom object. You know, people spending this much money, not necessarily for their work attire, you know, because maybe, you know, as you said, it will get used up. So maybe go for a cheaper option for work. However, still have this importance in having a more expensive object, not because the price isn't the point. The point is having something to pass down to your kids or to the future generations. Yeah. And if you go to Fort Worth and to Emiletti's, they have a quote. Massive paraphrasing because I don't have it in my mind exactly, but essentially explaining that, you know, the price of the quality outweighs the actual price that you're going to pay of it. So it's more important to buy a quality product that will outlast you.
Probably like the value is greater than the expense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have an object that will survive longer and outlive you, which is something we've discussed about a lot.
Speaking of that, that's a perfect segue for me to speak about today's sponsor for 30 seconds. And that sponsor is Tyler Shoop Leather. The reason I say that's the perfect segue is because his saying is like making products that your kids will fight over after you're gone. Like, that's not an exact quote, but that's basically a very similar philosophy behind that. Making something that's going to last and that people are going to want after you leave this earth. And today I recommend you guys check out Tyler Shoop Leather. He makes fantastic leather quality gear. Last April, I think, is when I first got this belt that I'm wearing, this Tyler Shoop buck stitch leather belt, and I have worn it a lot, almost every day since then. And I've got some other great belts that I rotate in and out as well, different styles, things that maybe Tyler doesn't offer, but he has a wide selection of tack as well, all kinds of headstalls, one ears, split ears, brow bands, anything you're looking for. Great reins. I love my split reins that I have from him. The wallet that I carry is from Tyler Shoop. It's in my pocket right now. I love this little wallet because I don't like big, thick wallets. I don't like to carry something in my back pocket. This is the Tyler Shoop leather wallet. We're not going to make this video an entire commercial, but go check him out because he makes great gear and it will last you. TylerShoopLeather.com. Use code WACW10 to save 10% off your order. And that's today's sponsor. Thank you so much, Tyler. We appreciate you. So, okay, so Max, very cool. So you've spent a couple days with me, a couple days with another rancher. You've been at the Houston Rodeo. Yep. What about the wear and the gear? You said some of the expense behind it has surprised you. Anything else that's kind of like stood out to you or that you weren't expecting? I
mean, you know, it's what we're what you mentioned about today's sponsor, everything's rooted in legacy, it seems here. It's something that's extremely important to everyone I've met. One of the first people that I met at Houston Rodeo was MLEDs. Their heritage, their history, that's everywhere in their store. They're very proud of it. Keeping the records. You go into their store and you have the books of all the feet of the people that've had custom boots. They're dating back to, like, the page that was open when I was there was from 1941. Like, the history there is amazing, and having that still and making that a part of who they are seems to be very important. And with everyone I'm talking to, that legacy of passing on to future generation and inheriting something from past generation is something fundamental.
No doubt. This is a generational denim jacket, being that it was my great grandpa's and now it's mine. And then, this land that I own, it wasn't passed. My family didn't ranch or farm on this land as owners of this land. I did buy this land from my grandparents, but it wasn't our family's ranch or farmland. But the land that was and is the family's ranch land is still doing that same thing today, still has cattle ran on it, still rooted in family. The family lives there, family builds houses there. That's something that I think is extremely special. It's unique. It's obviously not the entire American culture to be that way, but I think if you've ever got to have that and then it gets taken away from you, you realize just how wonderful that something like that is. But everyone strives to leave a legacy, and it's just that with ranching, with the work of a cowboy or a cattleman or a farmer, that work is so attached to the land that you're on. And so being able to steward that land well, take care of it, pass it on to the next generations and the things that come after you. Just like this new custom buckle that I got, I had my son in mind when I got this buckle, built. Someday this will go to probably my son, which is really cool. Like something that will last me an entire lifetime, and then will also be able to be enjoyed by him or a grandchild of mine or who knows. That's just something really cool and special and unique.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was also especially interesting because photography for me has a similar aspect. I got back into, I was always interested in photography, but I got back into photography through inheriting my late grandfather's analog cameras. And when he passed away, I was going through all the slides, looking at them, scanning them for my grandmother, and seeing his life, where he pointed his camera, his vision of French monuments, vacation with his wife, selfies before selfies were a thing, putting the timer on and putting the camera down without really knowing, because there was no digital, so it was one shot and each shot counted. With my grandmother, and I inherited all that from him. And I still believe today that through this legacy that he's left me of photography, each time I take my camera and I point it at something, in a way he's looking through the lens. Of course, it's not a physical object, but still coming from the next generation. You were talking about your next generation, but I'm talking from the past generation. I think that through my photography, I'll also be able to leave a message to my kids or grandkids potentially, because I still shoot analog part of my work, and they'll be able to look through all the negatives of my photography journey and
find the positives. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, photography. But yeah, exactly. And they'll be able to rescan them compared to digital files that may disappear. So it's similar in that mindset of having something that will outlive you.
Very cool. Very cool. So, in particularly, you chose Cowboys and the Western wear because why?
Because, so, the whole premise of this project, so I was looking for, originally I was looking for a present for my 30th birthday. My parents had asked me, what do you want? And I was thinking of coming back to the US because having lived here and spent most of my summers of my life in South Carolina, I was thinking I want to go back to what I consider is home away from home. And I've been on this photography journey, and I thought to myself, hey, I can't afford to spend 3 weeks, or however long on vacation. So I started thinking of a project that would mean a lot to me, to have something that would represent my going into my 30s that was an achievement. And I had a knee surgery last year, and I was stuck in my bed, and I was going through the books of Anouk Hans. So she's a French and Dutch photographer based in the US now, and she did a lot of work on Cowboys. Would definitely recommend to check it out. There's 3, I think 4 now books. One is Cowboys, one is Ranchlands, one's Frontier, and I forget what the last one is. But they're all black and white photography around Cowboys, and in it she explains that she went especially to Texas and Oklahoma because that's where the biggest population of cowboys is in the US. So sitting there and reading looking at the pictures and reading some of the interviews in there, and
you'd have some Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana cowboys pretty upset right now.
I've already been told. I'm not saying they're not there. I'm saying I had to maximize my chances of seeing cowboys. And so seeing those books, and that kind of inspired me, and then also inspired by the works of another photographer, Richard Avedon, who did in the American West. And he also went through the Midwest photographing not only cowboys, but Americans that essentially were forgotten by society, coal miners, some cowboys, people working in casinos, like very, powerful portraits that he took. And I thought to myself, well, if this is where these 2 photographers that I'm looking at went, maybe I should start a project in this geographical zone of the US. Turned out really well that you were based in Oklahoma. Yeah. Because when I reached out and saw that you were from Oklahoma, I was like, well, that, feeds into the narrative that this is where they are. And then after doing some research, then, I found companies that were based in Texas, and they were the first to reply to my messages. And then it kind of, everything happens for a reason, as we talked earlier today. And I was like, okay, this is the direction I need to go to.
Yeah, awesome. So you've got to spend some time with me. You've got to spend some time with American Hat Company and
ML Letty's, Houston Rodeo.
The Houston Rodeo.
I'm going to see down in southern Texas Herb's Hats, hat store. I'm going to Oklahoma City to visit the stockyards, see Shorty's Hat Company, because I met them over at the Houston Rodeo.
This hat was from Shorty's, thank you. And it's an American hat, by the way, American Hat Company, so yeah.
And got the chance to meet the people over at JB3 Ranch, Howdy Rancher.
Yes.
Ranch, who were very nice to me as well, and gave me a tour of their ranch. So it's, covering a lot of ground, let's say. Awesome.
I know you're going to bull riding practice.
Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow in Henrietta.
Okay, cool.
So I'll get to experience that. Like, I got to experience some of the rodeo events down in Houston Rodeo, mostly the Ranch Rodeo. Got to see from the press box the Super Series, but that was from the 8th floor, so not as.
So let's say that someone's watching this and they don't know anything about cowboy lifestyle whatsoever, never been to a rodeo. What do you think would surprise them about cowboys, about the sport of rodeo, and do you recommend that they should experience it for themselves?
I mean, I would recommend people experience it for themselves, for any type of experience, because having traveled a lot when I was younger and still to this day, I think people should have this curiosity, the curiosity of a 5-year-old child asking questions that is obvious to anyone, but isn't to him or to her, So I would definitely recommend anyone to go to this. Then if you come from a European perspective at a rodeo, there's too much to say that would surprise any, normal, regular European, from the national anthem to the blessing before the rodeo to having the American flag toward the grand entry. Like, all this is stuff that you would only see in Europe at professional national team sports. So seeing this on rodeos, not only Houston, I've also been told that this also happens on more local rodeos.
Oh, absolutely. Every time.
That would definitely surprise people from Europe. But for me, once again, people need to experience other cultures, other traditions, and more importantly, they need to go meet other people like we're meeting right now. I've met a lot of people on this journey, from this morning at the breakfast of my motel to deeper conversations and people helping through my project. Each conversation I write them down, or not conversation, but each people I've met or along the trip I've written down in my travel journal. And I think this is what we were put here to do, to meet each other.
Yeah. Well, I want to personally thank you for telling the story of the American cowboy and traveling halfway across the world to do it. I think that that's so cool. And someone seeing the value in what the cowboy offers the world, it means a lot to me. So thank you for that. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for having me.
And I want people to be able to see your work. So whenever you're done and you return home and your project is finished, where will people be able to see what you've done?
So on the first part, I'll start posting some of the work once I have a talk with the local store of Leica, which is the camera brand that I shoot with. Once I'm back, I will then, curate this body of work and try to get an exhibition going in Europe. So for here, it'll be a bit tougher to see, but once that's done, and I'll be able to also push it to certain medias, I will, of course, let you know where they get published. And I will, of course, I'm documenting my journey as it's going on my social media, and there will be some of the content put on my social media, so at Evangelista Photos, or on my website, where I'll advertise this trip after it's gone. So the link to my website is on my social media. It's evangelista.photography. It's a Squarespace website.
Okay.
And you'll be able to find all my work there.
Okay. I see a lot of YouTube people getting sponsored by Squarespace.
Yep.
So you just name dropped that. So Squarespace, you're welcome to send a check.
That's how I got my website, through a YouTube sponsorship.
There we go. So, well, Max, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is awesome. And again, I've really enjoyed your company, really enjoyed your work, and
I really enjoyed our chats.
Hearing everything from your perspective about why you're doing what you're doing. So, guys, listen, cowboys matter to people out there. And if you're a cowboy, I want to say that the way you live, people are watching. So live well. Be the kind of person. People are inspired. Yeah. Be the kind of person that someone watching needs to see. That would be my advice to you today. Yeah, it's fun. Hang around, watch some more. I've got a lot more videos on the channel if you're interested in cowboy gear, Western wear, cowboy lifestyle. Subscribe if you haven't, if you want to see that content, and leave us a comment. If you have any questions for Max or have any questions for myself, I try to reply to every single comment that I get, and your questions and your input matters to me. So thank you so much for those of you that do take the time to leave that comment and be a part of the conversation. It means so much to me, and that's what a cowboy wears.
Perfect. So much stress. You're able to clip that to start the end of the video.
Yeah.